We are all smiling because he's here. He is our sunshine. He is the lifeblood of this show, this place, our hearts, and he's back.
And you guys know, and we know very well, he's been gone for about 2 months. He's been dealing with some health issues, but thanks to an excellent medical team and an even greater support from his incredible family and his beautiful wife, Deborah, he's back and he's on the mend.
Do you like how we're talking about you like you're not sitting out here?
I'm not here.
Al's going to get his. We're going to talk about all of it in just a moment. But first, a little bit of this journey that Al and Deborah have been on.
We have an update on our dear, dear Al Roker.
Everybody's been missing him and noticing he's been out for a few days. Little did we know back in November, a few days would turn into 2 months without our beloved Al. What started out as a few stomach pains would soon escalate into a frightening range of medical issues for Al, including blood clots in his lungs.
Dr. Rahman and I were extraordinarily concerned about Al. Extraordinarily concerned. He had a life-threatening experience. I mean, there's just no doubt about that.
Dr. Felice Schnoll-Sussman is Al's gastroenterologist at New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell Medical Center. And Dr. Jay Rahman is Al's internal medicine specialist, both of whom Al credits with saving his life. And while his medical team worked to get him better, with his wife Deborah and his children at his side, Al was never far from our minds.
We just want to say we love you, Al. I wonder if you're watching.
And of course, he was. As the weeks went by and Al's determination to get better became more and more evident, we finally got that update we had been waiting for.
We are so happy to announce Al is back home from the hospital, sitting in his kitchen.
Al.
It's good to be home. It's good to see your faces.
But virtually seeing that face will never be good enough for us, not even close.
And mistletoe dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ha, ha, ha.
And now that our sunshine is returning to Studio 1A, his doctors have given us a strict protocol to follow.
What he really needs now, which is what he's getting, is what we call tender love and care. He just needs now time and good food and rest and being with friends and family and probably getting back to what he loves to do.
And we can't wait to give him that TLC, doctor's orders. Wow, we're so happy to have Al, can you tell, Al back, and his wife, Deborah Roberts, who has just been amazing. You're a correspondent for ABC News. It must feel weird to be here.
Did I stumble into the
But we're so delighted because you are so much a part of this story. But Al, I mean, the first question, how do you feel? How do you feel physically? How do you feel in your heart?
Well, my heart is just bursting. I'm just so thrilled to see all of you and all the crew and everybody. And just, you know, right now I'm running on adrenaline. So I'm just thrilled to be here.
Well, really we've missed you every day. And Deborah, you were obviously with Al every second of the day. And one of the lines struck me in the piece. It said that the doctors saved Al's life. That just showed the gravity of the situation that I think a lot of people probably didn't know.
It's not lost on us that this is a major, major thing for Al to be here. He is a living, breathing miracle. He really is. And I have to say, I'm not overstating it, I don't think. Al was a very, very, very sick man. And I think most people did not know that. And you all had a chance to know that. And I know Savannah's tearing up, and I'm going to be tearing up. But those two doctors, Dr. Felice Schnoll-Sussman and Dr. Jay Rahman, led this brilliant team. It was a team that had to figure out what was happening. He was a medical mystery for a couple of weeks. And it was the most tumultuous, frightening journey we have ever been on.
Wow.
And
when we went to see him, when all of us went, we were, we were all just kind of struck by what we saw. And you said there was a moment where he said something to you, and you knew he was going to be okay.
After fighting through all of this, and it's up to you how much you want to share, but Al went through a lot of tests, a lot of scopes. I mean, there was just so much that had to be done, and a surgery, if you don't mind my saying.
Sure.
A major, major surgery. And we were just on pins and needles every day, and I kept everybody abreast, our family, you all. And Al and I were sitting there one day in the hospital. I wish it were a hotel. In the hospital, and through this very scratchy voice, and he was so gaunt and exhausted, he said, I'm going to make a spatchcock turkey for Christmas.
There it is.
And I didn't know whether to burst into tears or just to beam. I mean, that was the moment for me, and it will always be the moment for me where I knew this man. I mean, I'm sitting here hoping he's going to make it to Christmas, and he wants to make a turkey. And I just knew at that point that drive is so strong.
Al, even like in those moments, like your spirit, your humor, he would be like, we'd come see you, he'd be trying to crack a joke. I have to say, the doctor saved your life, but I think Deborah Roberts also saved your life. Deborah, Leela, Courtney, Nick, they were so devoted. I call her a warrior woman. She was there, out there, fighting those battles.
Leela spent the first 4 or 5 nights sleeping in the hospital. And finally said, "Sweetie, you've got to go home."
She wouldn't leave your side.
On her birthday, even.
On her birthday, you know.
She celebrated her birthday in the hospital.
My sister Elisa flew in from Cleveland. My brother Chris was. I mean, and you guys, you know. I mean, you were part of that rock. But what Deborah did the most for me was I had no idea how bad off I was. I thought I was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
This is good. Okay.
You know what's funny? We've watched Al go through tons of surgeries, and every time he comes back, Al, you're skipping. You had prostate cancer, you skipped in. You had a knee replacement. You're like, hey, everybody. So this one was different. How did you navigate? What did you know about what was going on?
Well, you know, look, I had 2 complicating things. I had blood clots that they think came up after I had COVID in September. And then, you know, I had this internal bleeding going on. I lost half my blood. And they were trying to figure out where it was. And finally, they went in, did this surgery, and it ended up, 2 bleeding ulcers, had to resection the colon, take out my gallbladder, redo my duodenum. I went in for 1 operation. I got 4 free. so I got that going for me. So that
One-stop shopping.
I had to say, you look great in Nick's suit today. But you went home the first time for Thanksgiving. Things didn't work out. You ended up back in the hospital. When you went home this most recent time, how sort of gun-shy were you that it was time to go home, that you were going to be okay, that you wouldn't go back to the hospitals, number one? And then when did you know that today was the day to come back?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I felt ready to come back on the 3rd, but there's some stuff. I said to our executive producer, Tom Ashwell, I think in the 3rd. He goes, that doesn't work for me.
And I was just like, no.
Friday. Okay, all right, fine.
It's good.
So it's good. So anyway, you know, I just knew because these doctors, you know, Dr. Felice Sussman and Jay Rahman and Dr. Pastore and my surgeon Anthony Pagazzi, all these doctors, I knew they had my back, and the nurses and the staff and I'd never been in a medical ICU, let alone a surgical ICU. They were fantastic, and all the nurses and folks on the 14th floor at New York Presbyterian, just world class. You know, I'm blessed. I have great health care, but I had this woman next to me, and taking care of me and my family and this family here.
And you also had prayer.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, there was a prayer circle like you wouldn't believe. Not only from you, my colleagues, our family, friends, perfect strangers. I was walking down the street anytime I was going someplace. I'm praying for your husband. I'm praying for your husband. Just, you know, just trying to discreetly go shopping one day. Some woman taps me on the shoulder. I'm praying for your husband. The amount of goodwill toward you, I will never, ever, ever forget, and never, ever, ever take for granted.
You know what's funny? After like something big like this, sometimes you have a life lesson where something changes within you. Did anything change within either of you? Is there something that you came away with this thinking, wow, okay, we get this second chance here?
I think for me, the awe of you and your strength. Al didn't like being vulnerable and being weak in his mind. Through that weakness and that vulnerability, he showed strength. And I will never, ever forget that example. And I think also, too, patience. I've never been good at patience. I'm ready to get on with it. We all work in television. I have learned the power of patience, and we both have to go with that.
I think the idea of family, you know, and from starting with Deborah and just everybody and you guys, that makes the difference. And one of the other things, and not to plug anything, but you know, to our Start Today walkers and folks, each of my doctors said if I wasn't in the shape that I was in, this might have been a different outcome.
Wow.
And just getting out and walking and doing some of those stuff.
You've always been an inspiration, even more so now. I'll never forget, Deborah, one of those early texts you said, I've never loved him more. And I think we all echo that, Al. We have never loved you more and been more grateful to have you by our side.
Well, I'm grateful to have this woman by my side, all of you.
We love you.
All of you, and you folks at home, and who, again, as Deborah said, the prayer, you could feel it. You really could. I mean, other than that voodoo doll that Dylan had made, but other than that, actually, she brought over a chicken pot pie yesterday, and I had Nick taste it first. It was delicious.
I saw her putting some low wire down.
Y'all are all terrible. By the way, we should point out behind the cameras, we have our crew and staff watching and listening to every word that Al is saying, and Deborah is saying. Y'all, thank you for coming. Deborah, we love you. Al, we love you.
Thank you.
So today's show without you, buddy.
No, it's not.
We are back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
Yes.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.